The deck of cards hit the floor like a gunshot, scattering hearts and spades across the sticky dorm room carpet. And in the stunned silence that followed, Ryan's hand warm, calloused from endless pickup basketball games, grazed mine under the table, sending a jolt straight through my chest that I couldn't blame on the cheap tequila. "Truth or dare, Alex?" he whispered, his voice low and edged with something dangerous, like he knew exactly what he was unraveling. I met his eyes, those stupid, ocean blue eyes that had been dodging mine for months, and before I could chicken out, I said, "Dare," because saying no would have meant admitting I'd been lying to myself since freshman orientation. That was the night everything cracked open. But let's rewind, because you can't understand the shatter without the build-up. My name's Alex Harper, and if you'd asked me a year ago where I'd be on a Friday night in our cramped off-campus apartment in Ann Arbor, Michigan, home of the Wolverines and way too many undergrads chasing both degrees and bad decisions, I'd have said buried under a pile of organic chemistry notes, chugging black coffee like it was holy water. Pre-med track at the University of Michigan doesn't leave room for distractions. My parents drilled that into me from the cradle. Dad, the high school principal from a dying steel town in Pennsylvania, always muttering about making something of yourself over his meatloaf specials. Mom, the nurse who'd worked doubles to put me through community college before U of M scholarships kicked in. They weren't rich, but they were proud, fiercely so. And I was their golden ticket out of the Rust Belt grind. No parties, no hookups, no detours. Just straight A's and a stethoscope in my future. Ryan Ellis crashed into my orbit like a meteor I never saw coming. We got matched as roommates sophomore year through some glitchy housing algorithm. Me, the quiet grind from the Midwest burbs. Him, the golden boy from coastal California. All surfer vibes and easy grins. Majoring in kinesiology because sports science sounded cool, bro. He was the kind of guy who could ace a midterm hungover and still dunk on the rec center court like it was nothing. From day one, he filled our shoebox apartment with chaos. Posters of the Lakers and Bob Marley tacked crookedly on the walls, a mini fridge humming with IPAs instead of my kale smoothies, and that perpetual scent of Axe body spray mixed with microwave popcorn. I'd roll my eyes at his late-night Xbox marathons. But secretly, I lived for the noise. Silence in that place felt like failure. He always said he was focused on academics, too, cracking jokes about how he was saving the world one pulled hamstring at a time with his PT dreams. But Ryan was a liar in the best way, the kind who made you want to believe him. We'd study together sometimes, him sprawled on the futon with his laptop balanced on his abs. Yeah, I noticed. Me cross-legged on the floor highlighting flashcards until my eyes burned. "Dude, you're gonna burn out," he'd say, tossing me a protein bar. "Live a little. What's the point of all this if you forget how to laugh?" I'd mutter something about loans and med school apps, but his words stuck like burrs. And God, the way he'd look at me then, head tilted, that half-smile pulling at his lip, made my stomach flip in ways I chalked up to stress eating. By junior year, we'd fallen into this rhythm. Me pretending I was above it all, him dragging me to the edges. There was the time he convinced me to tailgate before the Ohio State game, chugging natty lights in maize and blue face paint while the big house roared like a living beast. I puked in a bush afterward, and he held my hair back, laughing that deep, rumbling laugh that echoed in my ribs. See? Worth it. Or the winter formal he bullied me into chaperoning for extra credit. Me in a rented tux that pinched. Him in slim-fit chinos that hugged his thighs just right. Dancing awkwardly to some top 40 remix until the DJ dropped Wonderwall, and the whole room sang like it was a church hymn. We didn't dance then. We just stood there, shoulders brushing, watching the snow fall outside the Union Hall windows. Moments like that piled up, unacknowledged bricks in a wall I didn't know I was building. But I kept it locked down. Always had. Growing up in Erie, Pennsylvania, where the lake freezes over and the churches outnumber the Starbucks, I learned early to bury anything that didn't fit the script. The crushes on the swim team captain in high school, the way I'd linger too long in the locker room steam. College was supposed to be freedom, but Ann Arbor felt like a bigger cage. Progressive on paper? Sure, with pride flags fluttering on State Street, but whisper gay in the wrong frat house and you'd hear the echoes of locker room slurs from back home. Ryan? He dated around girls from his poli-sci classes, sorority types with beach wave hair and infectious giggles. I'd hear them through the walls some nights, giggling turning to moans, and I'd blast my AirPods with indie playlists to drown it out. Jealousy? Nah, just roommate awkwardness. Or so I told myself. The game night was his idea, of course. Midterms had chewed us up. Me pulling an all-nighter on biochem that left me seeing double helices in my dreams. Him stressing over a group project on ACL tears. We need this, he declared Thursday afternoon, slamming a six-pack on the kitchen counter like it was a peace treaty. No studying, no bullshit. Just us and the crew, cards against humanity till someone cries. The crew was small. Sarah, his ex from freshman year who'd evolved into our platonic comic relief with her deadpan sarcasm and vintage band tees. Jamal, the engineering whiz from down the hall who owed Ryan for a clutch fantasy football trade. And Mia, Jamal's girlfriend, the type who baked weed brownies for the vibes, but swore she was sober curious. Our apartment wasn't built for 5, but we made it work. Folding chairs dragged from the balcony, the coffee table cleared of my textbooks. Finally, and that ancient Bluetooth speaker pumping indie folk, Hosier crooning about take me to church sins that hit way too close. It started innocent enough. Sarah dealt the cards, her acrylics clicking like castanets. Black card. What's that sound? Jamal slapped down the primal scream of a otter in heat. And we lost it. Tears streaming, sides splitting. Ryan's knee bumped mine under the table. Stayed there. I didn't move. Tequila shots followed, courtesy of Mia's flask disguised as a water bottle. By round 3, the game's edge sharpened. Truths about worst hookups. Jamal's involving a slip and slide. Don't ask. Dares like chugging hot sauce. Sarah tapped out, face like a tomato. My turn came after Ryan nailed a diversity is. With the next pope, earning howls. He leaned in, breath warm with lime and mischief. Truth or dare, Alex? The room blurred at the edges. Jamal was mid-sip, Mia snapping a pic for her story, Sarah smirking like she knew secrets. Ryan's eyes held mine, unblinking, that blue pulling me under like Lake Huron riptides. Truth would have been safe. Spill about the time I cried during Grey's Anatomy, but something in his voice, the way his fingers drummed the table edge, dared me to leap. Dare? I said, voice steadier than I felt. His grin spread slow, predatory. Kiss the person to your left. Left was Sarah. No big deal, peck on the cheek, laughs all around. But he clarified, low enough the others might miss it. On the lips. Make it count. The room froze. Sarah raised a brow, game. But Ryan, he shifted, just an inch, his left now brushing my right. Wait, no, the circle had twisted in the chaos. I was to his left. My heart jackhammered. Ryan. Rules are rules, Harps. Jamal hooped, egging it on. Mia giggled nervously. Sarah just watched, like she'd been waiting for this plot twist. The air thickened, Hosier's voice fading to a hum. Ryan's face was inches away now, freckles dusting his nose like stars. Lips parted just enough to show the tip of his tongue. I could bail, laugh it off, blame the booze. But in that beat, with the cards scattered like fallen soldiers and the world narrowing to his gaze, I didn't want to. I leaned in, soft at first, tentative like testing thin ice. His lips met mine. Firmer, hungrier than I'd imagined in those traitorous midnight thoughts. Salt and tequila and something electric, his hand cupping my jaw like I'd break if he let go. The kiss deepened, world tilting, until a beer bottle, Jamal's I think, tipped and shattered against the wall, foam spraying like champagne confetti gone wrong. We broke apart, gasping, the room erupting in chaos. Whoops, claps, Sarah's holy shit, plot twist. But Ryan's eyes on mine, they weren't laughing, they were terrified, and alive, for the first time. That kiss lingered like smoke after a bonfire. Choking, intoxicating, impossible to wave away. The game night imploded after the bottle fiasco. Jamal mopping up glass with a dish towel while belting an off-key happy birthday to the mess. Mia passing around her special brownies to cut the tension. Sarah cornering me in the kitchen with a knowing smirk. So, that's how it is, huh? About damn time you two stopped circling like awkward sharks. I mumbled something about dares and drunk stupidity, but my lips still tingled, traitorous nerve endings firing memories of his stubble against my skin. Ryan played it cool. Too cool. Cracking jokes, refilling shots, but I caught the glances. Quick, heated, like he was memorizing the shape of my mouth. By midnight, the crew bailed. Jamal and Mia Ubering back to their high-rise dorm. Sarah hugging us both a beat too long, whispering, "Don't fuck this up," in my ear. The apartment fell quiet, save for the hum of the fridge and the distant wail of a siren on Washtenaw Avenue. Ryan and I cleaned in silence, shards of glass catching the lamplight like jagged diamonds. I wanted to say something, anything, to crack the ice, but words felt like landmines. What if it was just the game? What if he woke up tomorrow and blamed the tequila, like every straight guy panic story I'd overheard in the LGBTQ Center support group? He broke first, tossing a rag into the sink with a wet slap. "Alex, about earlier." His voice was rough, like he'd swallowed gravel. I froze, sponge mid-swipe on the counter. He ran a hand through his hair, dark waves that always looked effortlessly tousled, and paced to the window, staring out at the snow-dusted quad where undergrads stumbled home in clusters. That wasn't. It was a dare. But he trailed off, shoulders hunching like he carried the weight of the Rockies. I set the sponge down, heart in my throat. But what? My voice came out smaller than I meant, echoing the kid I'd been at 16, stealing glances at the quarterback in the high school parking lot. He turned, eyes stormy. But it felt right. Fuck. Alex, it felt like something I've been running from since we met. The confession hung there, raw and unfiltered, like he'd ripped it from his chest. I crossed the room in 2 strides, close enough to smell his cologne. Cedar and sea salt, grounding me. Running from? Ryan, you've got a rotation longer than my syllabus. Girls throwing themselves at you after every game. He laughed, bitter and short. Cover, man. All of it. Back home in Santa Cruz, my dad's this ex-surfer coach. All boys don't cry, boys don't. You know, mom's cool, but she's got her own battles. So I played the part, dated the cheerleaders, cracked the jokes. But you, his gaze softened, tracing my face like a map. You show up with your color-coded notes and that stupid determined frown, and it's like, bam, I can't look away. My knees buckled a little. I grabbed the couch arm to steady. This was Ryan Ellis, the guy who'd high-five me after Wolverines wins, who'd crash on my bed during his breakup benders, sobbing over pizza about not being enough. Gay? Questioning. It rewrote our entire history in neon. Why didn't you say anything? I whispered, stepping closer. Our breaths mingled. The air charged like before a Michigan thunderstorm. Fear, I guess. Didn't want to lose this. He gestured between us, vague and encompassing. Then softer. Didn't want to drag you into my mess. His hand found mine. Fingers lacing tentative, calluses rough against my palm. I pulled him in, foreheads touching, the world shrinking to this. Us, in our messy living room, with empty bottles and unspoken truths littering the floor. We didn't kiss again that night. Not yet. Instead, we talked till dawn, curled on the futon under a threadbare Afghan Sarah had knitted as a gag gift. He spilled it all. The fumbling experiments in high school with a summer camp buddy, sworn to secrecy. The guilt that twisted his gut during family Zooms. The way he'd linger in the showers after pickup games, eyes on teammates' forms before snapping away. I matched him confession for confession. The crushes I'd buried under AP bio marathons. The pride parades I'd skipped for studying. The fear that med school dreams would crumble if I dared to be whole. Vulnerability poured out like rain off the Huron riverbanks, washing clean the lies we told ourselves. By sunrise, pink streaking the sky over the diagram, something shifted. Hope fragile as a first bloom. We dozed tangled together. His head on my chest, my fingers in his hair, waking to the blare of my alarm for Friday labs. Reality crashed back. Biochem quiz, his PT seminar. But over rushed coffee, he grinned. That real one, dimples carving canyons, and stole a kiss over the sink, quick and sweet as stolen gum. This okay? He murmured, thumb brushing my lip. More than, I said, and meant it. For the first time, the future felt less like a checklist and more like a horizon. The next weeks were a blur of stolen moments and electric normalcy. Study sessions turned charged. His foot hooking mine under the table at Starbucks on Southview. whispers about weekend hikes in the Arboretum. We'd cook disasters together, burnt quesadillas that we'd salvage with salsa and laughs, ending with make-out sessions on the balcony, city lights twinkling like conspirators. Ryan opened up more, dragging me to a queer film series at the Michigan Theater, where we held hands in the dark during moonlight, tears tracking silent down his cheeks. I met his vulnerability with my own, confessing panic attacks before exams, the weight of being the smart one in a family scraping by. But cracks showed early. His phone buzzed constantly, texts from the crew, code for X-Flames sniffing around. He'd silence them, but the guilt flickered in his eyes. Old habits, he'd mutter, pulling me close. And me? Med school apps loomed like storm clouds. Rejection letters from safety's last cycle haunted my sleep. What if I cracked under the pressure? What if loving him meant choosing him over the path I'd clawed for? The real fracture hit at Thanksgiving. I headed home to Erie, the Greyhound rattling through cornfields dusted in frost. Mom's turkey was drier than usual, Dad's stories louder, laced with, "When you gonna bring a nice girl around?" I smiled through it, stomach churning, texting Ryan furtive heart emojis from the guest room. He FaceTimed from Santa Cruz, beach bonfire crackling behind him, his sister's kids shrieking in the background. "Miss you, Harps. This feels wrong without you burning the gravy." We laughed, but his eyes were shadowed. His dad clapping him on the back mid-call, booming about prospects in coaching. Back in Ann Arbor, winter gripped the campus like a vice. Icicles daggering from dorm eaves, the diagram a skating rink of slush. Ryan threw himself into basketball. Intramural leagues where he'd fly across the gym, all grace and power, and I'd cheer from the bleachers, pretending my flushed cheeks were from the cold. One night post-game, sweaty and exhilarated, he pulled me into the locker room shadows. "Watch," he said, and stripped his jersey, revealing ink I'd never seen. A small wave tattoo on his ribs, curling like a secret. Our kiss there was fevered, hands roaming careful boundaries. No rush, just discovery. "You're it for me," he breathed against my neck. I believed him, bone deep. Then came the betrayal, sharp as a scalpel. Early December, finals breathing down our necks. I came home from a late shift at the campus health center, volunteering for resume points, to find the apartment dim, candles flickering on the coffee table. Romantic? Hell yes. But the note taped to the fridge, "Meet me at the Union." Big surprise. Our suspicion niggled, but excitement won. I bundled up, trudging through the snow to the Michigan Union, where holiday lights strung the arches like garlands. He was there by the fireplace lounge, but not alone. A girl, tall, blonde, the type from his old stories, clung to his arm, laughing at something he said. My stomach plummeted. I ducked behind a pillar, heart hammering, watching as she kissed his cheek, lingering. He didn't pull away. When she left for the bathroom, he checked his phone. Our thread, I realized later, and typed, "Where are you? This is gonna be epic." Epic. The word curdled. I bolted before she returned, snow stinging my eyes like accusations. Back home, I paced, replaying every touch, every whisper. Was it cover? Or worse, regret? The door clicked open an hour later, Ryan bursting in with a wrapped gift box, grin fading at my face. "Alex? What's wrong?" I hurled it at him. Not hard, but enough. "Who's she, Ryan? The surprise?" His confusion cracked into horror as I spilled what I'd seen. "It was nothing. Sarah set it up, a double date to test the waters. Make it look normal for my folks over break." Test. Normal. The words sliced deeper than ignorance would've. "You used me as a prop?" My voice broke, raw. "After everything." "No." He lunged, grabbing my arms. It was stupid, a panic move. Dad's visiting in January and I freaked. "But it's you, Alex. Only you." Tears tracked his cheeks, mirroring mine. We collapsed onto the floor, sobbing apologies and fears, the gift box crushed between us. A Wolverine's jersey with my name stitched on the back, ruined now. Forgiveness didn't come easy. Days blurred into strained silences, me crashing at Jamal's, him blowing up my phone with voicemails that wrecked me. I hate myself for hurting you. Come back. Please. Sarah mediated, dragging us to coffee at Zingerman's, where the air smelled of fresh bagels and second chances. You're both idiots, she said bluntly. But real. Don't let fear win. Christmas break split us. Me in Pennsylvania, snowed in with family small talk that felt like barbed wire. Him in California, posting beach pics that screamed performative. We texted sparingly. Miss your laugh. Thinking of that kiss in the arb. Kept the ember alive. New Year's Eve I cracked. Bought a last-minute ticket to San Francisco. Lied to my parents about a study retreat. The flight was turbulence-riddled, mirroring my gut. He met me at SFO, eyes red-rimmed, pulling me into a hug that swallowed the world. We drove Highway 1 in his beat-up Jeep, windows down despite the chill, stopping at bluffs where waves crashed like applause. I'm done hiding, he said, hand in mine over the gear shift. Told my sister everything. She hugged me, called you the keeper. Relief flooded, warm as the setting sun gilding the Pacific. We crashed at his mom's bungalow. Artsy, cluttered with surfboards and crystals, where she fed us clam chowder and asked gentle questions over Scrabble. No judgment, just quiet acceptance that mended something in me. Back in Michigan, January thawed us slow. Ryan came out to Jamal and Mia over pizza at Cottage Inn. Nerves jangling, but their cheers drowned them. Knew it, Jamal said, clapping his back. You two light up like faulty wiring. My coming out waited parents first over spring break. The call was brutal. Mom's stunned silence, Dad's gruff. As long as you're happy, son. Tears on both ends, but love held. We always knew you were special, Mom whispered. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Spring semester hit like a freight train, midterms morphing into mocks, my MCAT study guide a Bible on my nightstand. Ryan and I navigated the new us with cautious joy. Morning runs along the Huron, where he'd challenge me to sprints and I'd lose spectacularly, collapsing in giggles on the dew-kissed grass. Lazy Sundays at Blimpie Burger, splitting double patties while debating if Batman could take Superman. He could, obviously. Intimacy bloomed tender. No rush, just explorations over Netflix marathons. His fingers tracing constellations on my back as The Office reruns droned. It was romance distilled. Small, sacred, profoundly American in its unpretentious glow. But conflict brewed under the surface, insidious as an arbor's spring pollen. Ryan's dad arrived unannounced in late February. A burly ex-athlete with salt and pepper hair and a handshake like a vice. Heard you're killing it in PT, son. He boomed over steaks at nights, oblivious to the undercurrent. Ryan tensed beside me, fork scraping porcelain. I'd been introduced as my roommate, Alex, smart as hell pre-med. Roommate. The word stung, but I smiled through it, chatting about Wolverine's hoops to deflect. That night, after Biggle crashed on our futon, Ryan unraveled. He suspects. He hissed in the kitchen, pacing like a caged wolf. Asked if I'm seeing anyone serious. I lied, said yeah, some girl from class. Felt like puking. I pulled him close, his body rigid against mine. Tell him, or don't. But don't let it eat you. He buried his face in my shoulder, mumbling, can't lose him. Not yet. The lie festered. Ryan withdrew. Missing runs, burying in textbooks, snapping at small things like my habit of leaving highlighters uncapped. Focus, Alex. We can't afford slip-ups. Slip-ups. Like us. I swallowed hurt, doubling down on apps. Essays on empathy and medicine, shadowed by the fear that love might derail me. Whispers in the LGBTQ center, friends who'd deferred dreams for relationships, haunted me. Was this my detour? Climax erupted mid-March during March Madness. The apartment thrummed with bracket fever. We'd hosted a watch party for the Sweet 16. Fairy lights strung hasty, nachos overflowing. Ryan was electric. Cheering U of M's upset, hoisting me onto his shoulders in victory laps around the coffee table. But as the crowd thinned, his phone lit up. A text from Dad. He paled, excusing himself to the balcony. I followed. The door creaking shut on the party's din snow had melted to mud outside, street lamps pooling orange. He leaned on the railing, voice tight. He knows. Saw a pic from the game, us too close. Called me the F-slur. Said if I go that way, I'm dead to him. The words landed like punches, his fists white-knuckled on the iron. Rage boiled in me. Not at his dad, but at the world that weaponized love. Ryan. I reached, but he jerked away. It's over, Alex. All of it. I can't. I won't make you collateral. His eyes, shattered glass. Go back to your books. Be the success story. Figure it out. Betrayal twice over. Not just the lie to his dad, but this, shoving me away to protect his wreckage. You don't get to decide that. I snarled, voice cracking. We're in this or we're nothing. He laughed, hollow. We were always temporary. Academic focus, remember? That's your line. I stormed inside, the party a blur of forced smiles. By dawn, he'd packed a duffel, crashing at Jamal's. Space his flimsy shield. Days bled into a void. My bed half empty, his Lakers poster a ghost. I aced a biochem practical on autopilot, but joy evaporated. Friends rallied. Sarah shoving ice cream and rom-coms my way. Mia dragging me to yoga where I downward dogged my grief. But the ache gnawed. Had I imagined the depth? Was I just a phase? A dare gone long? The confrontation came unbidden. A week later at the rec center. I'd gone for a swim, chlorine to cleanse the hurt, emerging dripping to find him on the basketball court, alone, dribbling furious into the net. Sweat soaked his tank, muscles coiling like springs. I watched from the bleachers, towel clutched, until he spotted me. Ball stilled. Alex. Hoarse, pleading. I descended, steps measured. You don't get to ghost me. Not after everything. Up close, he looked wrecked. Dark circles, stubble shadowing his jaw. I told him, he said, voice breaking. Screamed it over the phone. He hung up. But fuck him, it's you. Always was. I panicked because, losing you? That's the real death. Tears welled, hot. I cupped his face, thumbs swiping salt. Then stopped running. We're stronger tangled. He crashed into me, kissed desperate, tasting of sweat and salvation. The court echoed empty. But in that press of bodies, we rebuilt. Promises whispered against skin. I choose us. Healing wasn't linear. Ryan's dad went radio silent. Grief's brutal math. But his mom sent care packages. Homemade granola. Note saying, proud of my brave boy. Ryan dove into therapy at the counseling center, unpacking coastal machismo. I joined, confessing perfectionist chains. Together we carved space. Pride meetings where we held hands unashamed. Hikes in Pinckney where we'd fuck around with puns till sunset. Summer loomed, my MCAT in June, his internship in Detroit. But first, a road trip. Chicago-bound, blues bars and deep dish detours. On Lake Michigan's shore, winds whipping, he dropped to one knee. Not proposal, but pledge. A silver wave ring, twin to his tattoo. Not forever yet, he grinned, sliding it on. But close. I laughed, pulling him up. Deal. Summer unfurled like a well-worn mixtape. Sweaty, nostalgic, scored to Ryan's indie playlist blasting from the Jeep's tinny speakers as we crisscrossed the Midwest. Post-MCAT, a beast I slayed with gritted teeth and his good luck kisses. I joined him in Detroit for a slice of his internship, shadowing physical therapists at a bustling clinic in Corktown, where murals of Motown legends watched over us like benevolent ghosts. Ryan thrived there, gentle with patience, cracking jokes to ease rehab pain, his hands steady on crutches and resistance bands, mirroring how he'd steadied me through my own fractures. Evenings, we'd wander the Riverwalk, skyline glittering like fool's gold, splitting Connie's at Lafayette while debating if Eminem counted as poetry. He did, emphatically. But humanism's quiet work is in the margins. The letters from his dad that went unanswered, stacking like unpaid bills. My parents' tentative emails, laced with "we love you," always, but shadowed by unspoken questions. Ryan noticed my flinches at every ding. Give him time, he'd say, lacing fingers over falafel at Alamir. Or don't. Your call. It was that grace, unforced, expansive, that hooked me deeper. He wasn't fixing me, he was space for me to breathe. Back in Ann Arbor by August, Senior year loomed with its capstone weight. Thesis defenses, residency apps, the inexorable pull toward white coats and stethoscopes. Ryan's lease ended, his PT program shifting to grad apps at Central Michigan, but he sublet a spot 5 blocks away, close enough for midnight confessions, far enough to remind us. This was real, not roommate convenience. We celebrated move-in with a picnic on the Nickelodeon. Blanket spread under the autumn blaze, cider spiked gentle, watching undergrads frisbee with that wide-eyed zeal we'd half forgotten. Fall painted the campus in fire, leaves carpeting the diagram like confetti from some cosmic parade. Our routines wove tighter, me tutoring bio in the library carols, him coaching youth hoops at the CRC, reuniting for takeout at night stakes, where the Naugahyde booths held our history like scars. Intimacy evolved. No longer frantic edges, but unhurried maps. Lazy mornings where he'd trace my collarbone with lazy fingers. Murmuring dreams of a practice in Seattle. Rain-slick courts and us in a craftsman bungalow. I'd counter with visions of Boston residencies. Him visiting with lobster rolls and bad accents. Futures overlapped, not collided. Yet conflict simmers eternal, especially in the Heartland's underbelly. Ryan's coming out rippled outward. Teammates from intramurals who fist-bumped support but whispered slurs in group chats. A family holiday card from his dad. Blank inside save for a check Ryan tore up on our kitchen floor. Fuel for therapy, he joked, but his laugh rang false. I held him through the rage, my own doubts mirroring. A med school interview in Cleveland where the panelists' eyes lingered on my ring, subtle judgment curdling the air. Personal life stable? They'd probed. I smiled, more than, but doubt gnawed. Would they see the gay kid from Erie, or the doctor? The real storm brewed in November, election night casting long shadows. Campus pulsed with vigils, signs for equality, chants echoing off the Burton Tower bells. Ryan and I volunteered at a phone bank in the Union basement, dialing swing state voters with scripted pleas for progress. Hope crackled, electric. But as results trickled in, red waves lapping blue shores, defeat settled like frost. We walked home silent, arm in arm, past boarded-up shops on Main Street whispering of harder times ahead. In bed that night, rain lashing windows, he broke. What if it's all for nothing? We fight, we love, and the world just rolls over it. His voice muffled against my chest, vulnerability raw. I stroked his hair, searching for words. Then we keep fighting. Not for them, for us. Humanism isn't winning. It's showing up. He lifted, eyes searching mine. Blue depths I drown in gladly. How'd I get so lucky? Kiss slow, affirming. We made love then. Not urgent but reverent, bodies a bulwark against the night. Winter quarter brought snowdrifts and deadlines, but also milestones. My thesis defense, where Ryan sat front row, grinning through jargon on neural plasticity. Nailed it, Doc, he whispered post-handshakes. Bouquet of daisies thrust forward, cheesy perfect. His grad app acceptance to CMU followed. Champagne popped on the frozen arboretum paths. But betrayal's echo lingered. A leaked email from his dad, forwarded by a cousin, disowned. Don't come home. Ryan read it aloud over coffee at Comet. Voice steady but eyes wet. Freeze me up for better family. I flew to Erie for Christmas, braving I-90's ice slicks, armed with resolve. Parents met me at the door, hugs tighter than turtlenecks. Dinner was roast beef and loaded questions. This Ryan. Special? Mom's eyes soft. I nodded, spilling it all, fears, joys, the man who'd taught me love's worth the risk. Dad cleared his throat, gruff. Brought you into this world. Don't care who you love, long as they treat you right. Tears flowed free. We clinked mugs of spiked eggnog to new chapters. New Year's in Detroit. Ryan's internship crew threw a bash at a speakeasy off Woodward, jazz humming low. We danced. Awkward shuffles to Coltrane, his hand warm at my waist. Midnight confetti rained. His kiss tasted of champagne and certainty. To us, he toasted. The plot twist that stuck. Spring senior year was a whirlwind. Cap and gown fittings, farewell bar crawls on Southview, where we dodge co-eds and reminisce. My med school acceptances rolled in Pitt, a nod to home. Amory, Southern Sun calling. Ryan's CMU spot locked. Mount Pleasant a hop away. Distance loomed, but we plotted visits. Amtrak weekends, summer road trips to national parks. Graduation day dawned brilliant. Big house packed, maize banners waving like flags of surrender. I walked the stage, diploma gripped, spotting Ryan in the sea of faces. Whooping, filming on his phone. Post-ceremony, under the Burton bells tolling triumph, he pulled me aside behind the grad lounge. "Proud doesn't cover it," he said, voice thick. Then, from his pocket, a keychain, wave embossed, engraved, "Harps and waves forever." Tears pricked. "You're my anchor." "Nah," he grinned, pulling me close. "You're the tide. Pull me where I need to go." The summer after graduation was our grace period. A suspended breath before the world demanded its due. I deferred Pitt for a gap-year research gig at U of M's med school lab, pipetting proteins under fluorescent hum while Ryan commuted to CMU for orientation. Our apartments merged into a hybrid haven. My bookshelves crammed with his dog-eared Vonnegut paperbacks, his mini-fridge stocked with my almond milk. Weekends were sanctuaries, kayaking the Huron's lazy bends, where we'd beach on gravel bars and swap stories of futures half-formed. Bonfires at Island Park, marshmallows charred black as we debated life's big whys under Orion's wink. But humanism thrives in tension, the push-pull of growth. Ryan's therapy unearthed ghosts. Not just his dad's rejection, but the internalized barbs, the fear he'd turn me into regret. "What if you resent me? Med school's grind, and I'm the distraction." He'd voice in sessions I'd crash, Kleenex box between us. I'd counter soft, "You're the why, the heart in the hustle." My own shadows surfaced. Imposter syndrome clawing as lab results flopped. Whispers of not queer enough, from online forums where polished influencers flaunted perfect pride. Ryan grounded me. "Your story's messy. That's power." Fall pulled us apart gentle, him nesting in Mount Pleasant's piney quiet, me burrowing deeper into Ann Arbor's brick and ivy pulse. Distance tested, texts at odd hours, miss your coffee breath. FaceTimes where lag stole nuances. Weekends marred by traffic on I-75. But we alchemized it, surprise care packages. His mixtapes of California punk, mine. Annotated journals for his PT notes, letters old school, sealed with wax strips evoking our first confessions. Winter brought the call that cracked us open anew. Christmas Eve, Ryan's phone rang mid-eggnog toast at my parents'. His mom voice warbling, "He's here. Your father wants to talk." Silence stretched oceanic. Ryan's face drained. My hand found his under the table, steady. "Go," I urged, "but not alone." We flew west the next dawn. Turbulence a metaphor, landing in Santa Cruz's fog-shrouded embrace. The bungalow sagged under salt air, Christmas lights twinkling feeble. Big L. Ellis waited on the porch, broader than memory, eyes hollowed by months of silence. Ryan stiffened beside me, but I squeezed his hand. "Anchor. Son." Al rumbled, voice gravel. No hug, just a nod. Inside, over cooling coffee, the dam broke. Al's confessions. His own buried pains. A college coach who'd prayed, shame twisted into rage. "Thought I was protecting you. Turned out, I was the monster." Tears carved canyons in weathered cheeks. Ryan's followed, then mine, hug tentative, then fierce, forgiveness a bridge half-built. It wasn't erasure, scars linger, but repair. "I'll met me proper. Hurt a lot. Treat him good, or answer to me." Gruff but eyes warm. We left lighter, vowing calls, visits. On the flight home, Ryan slept on my shoulder, murmuring thank you, in dreams. Spring renewal. My research paper published in a niche journal, small potatoes, but Ryan framed the PDF printout over our bed like Pulitzer gold. His first CMU rotation aced, patients raving about the hot one who listens. Pride swelled mutual, a tide lifting both. Pitt beckoned September. Pittsburgh's steel ghosts and inclines calling like kin. Moving day, U-Haul stuffed, Sarah and Jamal hauling boxes with jokes and beers. Ryan drove the lead car, hand on my thigh at stops. The Steel City welcomed jagged. Rivers merging like destinies, Point State Park fountain arcing rainbows in sun. Our first apartment, third floor walk-up in Shadyside. Views of Cathedral of Learning's Gothic spire echoed with possibility. Challenges mounted swift. Residency interviews sucking weekends dry. Ryan's rotations demanding overnights in Saginaw ERs. Exhaustion bred friction. Missed calls fraying to, "Where were you?" Snaps, my stress manifesting in slammed cabinets. One night, post-argument over forgotten anniversary, 6 months, marked by nothing. He showed at my door unannounced, duffel slung. Can't do long distance in our heads. Moved. Sublet in Cranberry. Commute be damned. Relief crashed. We tumbled into bed. Apologies woven in touches. "We're human," he whispered. "Messy. That's the romance." Years blurred into rhythm. My intern year a gauntlet of 80-hour weeks. Call nights blurring into hallucinations. Ryan's practice blooming in a Bloomfield Hills clinic, specializing in sports rehab for pro hopefuls. We built life deliberate. Adopting a mutt named Huron from the pound, her wagging tail a metronome. Hosting Thanksgivings where my parents grilled Al on Lions versus Steelers, laughter bridging coasts. Betrayals revisited, softer. A patient's parent slurring Ryan as that fairy therapist. Lawsuit threats evaporating under ethics boards. I held him through it, echoing his past grace. My own. A colleague's microaggressions in the OR. Steady hands, Harper, no drama. Fought with HR filings. Allies emerging unexpected. Climax revisited in quiet thunder. My fellowship offered to Johns Hopkins. Baltimore's Harbor a siren song. Ryan's clinic expansion demanding roots in Michigan. Choose, fear whispered. We didn't. Instead, a weekend at Assateague. Wild ponies grazing dunes, ocean vast. Baltimore for you, he said, sand gritting our skin. I'll bridge the gap, telehealth visits. We adapt. Tears saltier than sea. And if it breaks us? Won't. Love's not fragile. It's the work. Humanistic end. Not fairy tale, but earned. 5 years on, I'm chief resident, stethoscope heavy with purpose. He's clinic director, mentoring queer kids in sports dreams. We wed in an arbor, small under the diagram oaks. Rings exchanged with waves etched in. Parents mingled, I'll toasting to the boys who taught me brave. Vows simple. In the dares and the dares not, I choose you. Life's no game night shatter. It's the rebuild, card by card. Ryan still teases my flashcards. I still burn the quesadillas. But in the quiet, his hand in mine, I know academics were the focus once. Now, it's this us unbroken.